Hello and welcome to the Heaven's Mind and Your Life Reimagined book series. Today I want to begin sharing a little bit about the SINister's wife, at least the backstory, just to kind of set the tone for what you'll be reading once you download your copy of the SINister's wife, the Gospel according to Mrs. Rochelle Miller Frazier. This book was written collaboratively with Rochelle Frazier back in, I believe we began the project August of 2018 and completed in February 2019, which is when the book was released. Along with the hard copy, it was also made available on Audible, and I'm very happy to announce that it was recently made available as an Audible book on February 6th of this year. 4 years in the making for the Audible book, but of course we all know what took place during and in between that time with the pandemic and COVID-19. So what I want to do today is just provide a little bit of, like I said, the backstory or an overview of how the book came to be, how Rochelle and I met, the dynamics that played up to writing the book, and then just a little bit of hint about the aftermath of writing this book. It has truly been one of many things that have changed my life for the better, and also, just like the tagline for Heaven's Mind book, transformation. It caused a major transformation, or was the beginning of a major transformation in my life. And so just a little bit, I'm not going to read to you, I'm just going to talk to you about, again, the dynamics that led up to writing the book. So initially, Rochelle and I began a friendship when we both attended the same church. That's how we met, and that's also how we discovered that we shared a birthday, and we're also the same age. So birthday is June 24th, 1967. So that puts us just right at a little bit over 55, approaching or knocking at the door of 56. The memories, right? So of course, when I met Rochelle, I also met her husband, Maurice, as well as their 2 children at the time. And then eventually, they did have another child, MJ Jr., which he is referred to in the book as Zion. At the time, I was also married, and I had 3 boys. 2 of them were younger. My oldest son was already out of the home, but I had 2 younger sons, about the same age as Rochelle's daughters. So, fast forward to about 2000, I'm going to say right around 1999. I don't think we had hit the millennia yet, the 2020. I'm sorry, the year 2000. We hadn't hit quite the year 2000. And unfortunately, there was a dynamic that had occurred in the Frazier household, and the matriarch or the patriarch of the family had passed away, and Rochelle was heartbroken by the loss of her father-in-law, having filled the void of her own father in her life. And so Maurice and I together decided that we would do something special on her birthday, which was also my birthday. And I prepared a meal for them to share for her birthday. I bought the food, I set up all the decorations, I even bought the card that he would present to her on her birthday that night. Now, while I was at their house getting all these things prepared, Rochelle was at the beauty shop, and Maurice was driving around, wasting time, or I don't know if he was wasting time, but anyway, just basically waiting around for her to get done and making sure that she didn't come to the house so that she would see the surprise. So I was at the house doing the things that it takes to prepare a meal and set up a beautiful birthday event for my best friend at the time. While I was there doing that, Maurice thought he'd stop home and see how my progress was going. And when he did, he was very impressed with how much progress I had made. I was actually almost done and really packing up and getting ready to get out of there. And he was so impressed by what I had done, my creativity, how beautiful everything was, and how thoughtful I was in making sure that Rochelle had a wonderful birthday evening in spite of the loss of her father-in-law. Maurice was so taken aback that he grabbed me and pushed me up against the wall, and he forced his tongue down my throat. I was completely taken aback, completely surprised, completely hurt because I considered him a friend. He was also a minister in the church, and I had respect for him as a friend and my best friend's husband. I'm sorry, as I think about that time and how I felt, the memory of it all is not as painful as it once was, having wrote this book and really processed that dynamic, but I felt so disrespected. And when he saw that I did not respond the way I believe he wanted me to respond, he too seemed surprised. He immediately packed up and left. I immediately packed up and left. As far as I know, they had a great evening, but the next day I received a call from Maurice, and he basically explained to me that if I were to tell Rochelle what he did, that he would deny it, and that he would change the story and say that I came on to him, and Rochelle would believe him over me because after all, he was her husband. I sat and I thought about that situation and the decision that lay before me, and I felt hurt that I was going to have to carry that secret in order to maintain a friendship with Rochelle. Fast forward a few years, I continued to maintain a relationship with Rochelle up until the time I graduated from nursing school. Up until then, I had continued to communicate with them both, and of course, every time I was in Maurice's company, he was always inappropriate with his behavior with me, anywhere from attempting to play footsies with me under the table to touching me on my backside whenever I passed by him. It was always something. And when I reflect back on that time, I think he wanted to make me so uncomfortable that maybe I would stay away, or so uncomfortable that maybe I would give in to his advances. I'm not sure. I'll never be able to answer that question because obviously it was in the past. However, by the time I was getting ready to remarry myself, my soon-to-be husband felt that if Maurice could not be respectful of me as a woman engaged, and his wife's best friend, that perhaps I needed to end that relationship. And that was one of the hardest things I had to do. As I think back, I allowed a man, my fiance, to dictate my friendships because of another man's inability to manage his own behavior. Nevertheless, I took my fiance's advice and I ended my relationship with my long-term friend, Rochelle. And I say long-term because in the short period of time that we were friends, we shared a lot of pain, a lot of heartbreak, and we attended church together. So we did a lot of things together. We were very much a part of each other's lives. Our lives were very intertwined. And so that day I had to make the decision to end the relationship. And I was really just getting started in my nursing career, having been a nurse at that time for about 5 or 6 years. And unfortunately, I believe she felt that I was ending the relationship because now I was making more money. I was married. We moved to a beautiful home. We had a home built and we moved into a nice neighborhood. And I think she thought that I felt like I was too good to be her friend anymore. And to have to carry that around for several years was so hurtful because it was so far from the truth. But because I had no control over her husband's behavior, I had to do what was in my best interest and what I did have control over. And that was the frequency in which I saw him. And unfortunately, I made the decision, or I felt that the decision I had to make was to end that relationship. So that has been today's backstory regarding the SINister's wife. Stay tuned, as next week I will bring you more background story on how the SINister's wife, the gospel according to Mrs. Rochelle Miller Frazier, how it came to be. I look forward to finding out who got the free download on today's episode of the backstory, the SINister's wife. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to working with you soon.
From the Your Life Reimagined book series, The SINister's Wife, The Gospel According to Rochelle Miller Frazier, now available on Amazon.com, Kindle.com, and Audible.com.